Did you get up this morning and have to stop and remember who you are? Like in the movie 50 First Dates, where Lucy had to watch a video of her life every morning because her memory was damaged from an accident. Most likely not how your mornings start.
Welcome to the Living Beyond ADHD podcast. If you're looking for a fresh perspective and actionable steps on hot topics from focus to follow-through to self-management and more, you are in the right place. Welcome your host, innovative educator, coach, and psychotherapist, Dr. B.
Habits are great when they're shortcuts that save us time and they benefit our lives. When they're destructive and remnants from the past, we need to get out of the habit of doing them. It's the same with who we are and how we are. We're in the habit of being us. And that means it saves us time and we don't have to consciously think about who we are, what we're going to be doing or not doing. It just happens automatically, courtesy of our subconscious mind and all the habits stored there. In order to get out of the habit of being you, you need to become aware of who you're being. You have to bring this information to consciousness so you can change it. How do you walk? How do you talk? How do you think? What beliefs do you hold? What's your sense of yourself or your identity? Do you say, I am how I am, and that's just how it is? And do you believe that change is even possible for you? And that it doesn't have to be a struggle for you to make changes? I love systems theory because it's neutral. It's not personal. If the system is dysfunctional, those in the system are going to be dysfunctional as well because they're impacted by the rules of the system. And if you change the system, you change everything. Human beings are systems unto themselves. We have our rules for living, ways of doing things, ideas about who we are, how we are, what we're capable of. And the truth is, we're capable of so much more than we think we are. There's perceived ability and actual ability. And if your perceived ability is limited and your actual ability is present and available, you're not going to access your actual ability because your perceived ability runs your life and influences your choices and your decisions. How do you get to live from your actual abilities? By developing your executive function skills, for one. And one of the many important executive function skills to develop is your metacognition and the way that I've come to understand it and teach it. If you can't see the bigger picture of your life, and see it clearly and accurately, then what you do see and use to live your life is incomplete or inaccurate. There are many reasons that we stop ourselves from seeing it all clearly. One is that many believe that if they allow themselves to see the issues, then they have to act on that awareness, and that's just not true. You can allow yourself the awareness and then decide when the time is right for you to take action on what you learn, or even if you need to do something to be able to be ready to take action, and then do that first so you can take the next step. If you listen to episode 96, you learned that the two codes for impaired executive function in the ICD-11 describes it as impairment in higher level cognitive abilities, such as planning, sequencing, concept formation, abstracting, and decision-making. And it involves cognition, which is your thinking. And it's a disturbance in mental abilities and processes that are related to your attention, memory, judgment, reasoning, problem-solving, decision-making, or comprehension, or the integration of all these functions. And this translates to life is harder than it needs to be. You can learn more about the signs of underdeveloped executive function skills by getting my free resource, 13 Signs Weak Executive Functioning is Holding You Back. The link is in the show notes. The impact of executive function disorder can be overwhelming to you as an adult. No matter how hard you try to get your work done in the time allotted, you just can't. Your mind wanders in a million different directions, and it won't focus when and where you need it to. And getting started with your work is a whole other challenge. It's not that your time estimates for the tasks are so far off. Rather, it's that it takes you almost 2 hours to settle in for one task, and the actual task only takes you 30 minutes. So instead of 30 minutes, you think the task takes you 2.5 hours. And it did, but not because the actual task did. If you had the executive function skill of task monitoring, you would see the problem and be able to correct it long before you used up 2 hours settling in. Plus, your self-management, initiating, and conscious focusing could probably use some help. What are you losing professionally by not solving the problem of your underdeveloped executive function skills? Promotions, respect from colleagues, better career opportunities elsewhere? So what's the answer? It's simple from my perspective. Develop your underdeveloped executive function skills in such a way that they replace your current poorly developed skills, and that they become so internalized and so automatic that they're as automatic as your current ineffective skills. Imagine every workday is a pleasure instead of a painful encounter to be avoided at all costs. You know, we're wired to avoid pain and run towards pleasure, which is why we do the pleasurable things and avoid the painful ones. Imagine being able to turn everything into a pleasurable experience instead of a painful one. How exciting would it be to look forward to your workday then? To me, trading in underdeveloped executive function skills for well-developed skills is a journey worth taking. Otherwise, hiding and running away from what you aren't feeling confident to handle because you aren't competent in your executive function skills is how your life's going to play out. It doesn't have to be that way, and in a sense, you're creating your own suffering. Adventures in Achievement Foundational Skills Program, or AIAFS for short, was developed to address and transform the underdeveloped executive function skills that more and more adults are surfacing with. I work with many professionals who need these skills to advance in their careers, and no matter what the root cause of their skill underdevelopment, doesn't matter. These are core capabilities such as working memory, initiating, inhibiting, conscious focusing, emotional control, task monitoring, and more. And additionally, AIAFS addresses the pre-skills that are needed to be more successful with the core skills, as well as your limiting beliefs and negative sense of self or identity. When all these ingredients come together, as they do in AIAFS, it's a recipe for success. And the link is in the show notes for more information. And let me be clear about this. It's not a class or a course. It's not superficial or a quick fix. It's a comprehensive, deep dive, 7-month transformational program that guides you to develop your executive function skills and executive function pre-skills, as well as provide you with the scaffolding support and strategies that you need to actually develop your executive function skills and keep what you achieve. That's right. Keep what you achieve. Go figure. When I'm training, I offer the specifics of what to do and how to do it. When I'm coaching, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking you deeper questions and eliciting a level of awareness in you so that you can evolve past where you left off years ago. It's the opportunity of a lifetime for you professionally and personally, if now is your time. You know, your self-confidence is directly related to your self-competence. And if you aren't competent, you can fake confidence, but that's an exhausting way to live, and it's not sustainable. Plus, the feelings of being an imposter and being found out are always with you. How much time do we have? Not much. So let's get to it.
This podcast is sponsored by Pure Potential with Dr. B. You can head over to drbarbaracohen.com and find the podcast episodes and transcripts. Great free content, plus information on programs and products, including the groundbreaking online Adventures in Achievement Foundational Skills Training and Coaching Program. You can also learn about Dr. B's masterclasses on decision-making, time management, and banishing procrastination. That's drbarbaracohen.com.
After over 30 years of working with adults who come to me with various labels of ADHD, anxiety, depression, trauma, and more, I know it's the transformation that matters to you and to me. And without addressing what's needed for that transformation to happen, it just won't happen. So let's get back to getting out of the habit of being yourself. In order to get out of the habit of being yourself, you first need to know what these habits consist of. I suggest that you take a gentle inventory of the habits of being you. Now, this might sound like an overwhelming undertaking, and it doesn't have to be. In fact, it can actually be a fun endeavor if you make a game out of it. It's kind of like 20 questions. I suggest that you suspend your beliefs about how this is for now as to whether or not it can be fun. Because if you believe it can or believe it can't, you're right. For your playful inventory, take out a piece of paper or create a new Word document on your computer and make a list of as many of your self-defeating behaviors as you're aware of. And no judging. Remember, these are behaviors, not who you actually are. Just a list of your behaviors as a neutral observer. Then make a second list of behaviors that you imagine a person who has what you want in life possesses. Now look at the two lists, and you're probably going to see a gap. Stay positive. This is an illusion, and it can disappear pretty quickly. The second phase of this playful exercise is to ask yourself who you would need to be and what you would need to believe to be and behave like your second list. You can easily see that the person you're being and what you're believing as the you of today, because you're in the habit of being you, it's not going to get the outcome that you want. You can't continue to be who you are. You need to upgrade. And the person you're being isn't permanent, and neither are your beliefs, so no worries. You weren't born as the person you are today. You've changed over time, and you're going to continue to change. Change is a given and a constant. We can either evolve and change as needs arise, or hold on to who we say we are and get left behind. It's important to pick the right thing to change. Look for what's going to give you the greatest leverage in your life to up your game. Working hard to change a behavior isn't the right thing. Pick something internal to you and work on changing that. Change a limiting belief. Change a limiting identity. Change your cognitive dissonance, which is your inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as it relates to your behavioral decisions and your attitude change. There is no quick fix. If you want the changes that you say you want, then you need to put in the time, effort, and energy for that to happen. Life is a long game, not a short game. Invest your time, which is your most precious asset, on the long game, so that you don't need to continually reboot and start over and over again. And don't jump from one solution to another solution without giving the solution the time that's needed to get the outcomes you want. And this means choose your solution wisely so you know that it can get you the outcomes that you want for your life. I know that the AIAFS program is a solution for the long game of life. The achievements gained during the 7-month transformational journey last a lifetime if you allow them to. The program helps you release what isn't working and add in what will work for you. This means your limiting beliefs, your limited sense of self or identity, your underdeveloped executive function skills, and your lack of effective strategies to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And it isn't just about getting you from here to there. It's about maintaining your successful achievements so you can build on them over your lifetime. The way you get positive changes is to engage with the content of whatever you're doing, so it becomes your new automatic way of being. Transformation doesn't need to be hard. It's only as hard to achieve as you make it. Remember, what you resist persists. Instead, fly under the resistance radar by engaging 15 to 20 minutes a day, every day. Again, stay in the content. It's your new way of being, so be there. Instead of saying, that's not who I am, say, this is how I live now, and live that way. Just because you haven't yet done things that way doesn't mean that you can't, and doesn't mean that it's going to be hard for you. Again, it's only going to be as hard as you make it. Life does have painful or tough moments. However, suffering is optional. You can choose to continue to suffer by dragging your past into your now, or you can choose to release yourself from suffering and live today forward. The choice is yours. Many of us have hidden from the truth that we need to hear to heal. We don't ask because we don't want to hear or know the answers. And because of this behavior, we don't heal or move towards the life that we're destined for. Instead, we continue to suffer. There's a saying in 12-step recovery that the truth will set you free. And I know from experience that it will, and it does. There's no ideal behavior. You can't fix everything, and you can't make yourself perfect. We are perfectly imperfect human beings. We are uniquely who we are, and that's what's so wonderful. There are no two people who are the same in all ways, which means that there's potentially something to learn from everyone that we engage with, if we're open to it. So focus on what's most important to you. If you can measure it, you can achieve it. Ask yourself, what can I do to be better for myself, as well as for the people that you want to be better for? And track yourself like you're a task. The executive function skill of task monitoring is wonderful for this exercise because everything matters. And you want to catch places where you've derailed sooner than later and course correct your development. The best time to change is now. There's no other time to make changes but now, because now is all we have. And by now you know that you can't implement changes by just flipping a switch. To make changes, you have to get all parts of you on board, and you have to treat all parts of you with the respect they deserve. Another playful exercise, if you're game, is to ask for advice from your 80-year-old self who's talking to the you of today. What would they tell you about how your journey was made and what they would change if they were making it today? There's 3 things that I want to share here. 1, Be happy now. You can choose to be happy today, regardless of the external circumstances of your life, because being happy can mean being willing to do something. We can all make that choice and release the "I'll be happy when I get or I do." Just that statement means that you won't be happy until you get or do whatever that is. And is that the only reason to be happy or the only way to be happy? Second, help people. That includes yourself. Do whatever you can do to help yourself and others. Did your 80-year-old self say that they are most proud of the people they helped, including themselves? This could be to achieve something important, listen attentively, offer support, or anything that's helpful. And the third, go for your dream. We all have a dream inside of us. For some, it's locked up and never visited, let alone pursued. Remember, we almost never regret the risks that we take and fail to achieve the outcomes because we learn along the way. However, we do regret the risks we fail to take for whatever reasons. Don't let yourself off the hook. Go for your dream. It's yours to achieve. So this is a perfect transition to the celebration of your wins. Please don't shortchange yourself and check out here, or think it's pointless or stupid to reward yourself for all the little things that you're supposed to do. There are important reasons to celebrate often and intentionally. And are you really going to make yourself wait for something huge to happen to celebrate? And does something huge happen every day? Probably not. But the kind of wins I'm talking about can and do happen daily. And this means that you can increase your dopamine levels and your motivation every single day by celebrating your wins, big and small. So what's it going to be for you today? What are you going to celebrate? Maybe you decided to pause for a few minutes and empty out a container in the garage that you've thought about doing for years now. That's a great win. Perhaps you recommitted to an earlier bedtime for yourself and have stayed with it for a full week now. That's a wonderful win. Maybe you paused this episode so you could sign up and receive your 13 signs weak executive function is holding you back. That's an awesome win. You get the point. Celebrate all of them, big and small. And none of this half-hearted celebrating. You've got to mean it. Exaggerate your emotions. Yes, wow, awesome. You want your acknowledgement and your celebration to register in your neurology with the power to move you and shift your state. Many of us need a higher level of stimulation or intensity for things to register. So if that's you, give it to yourself and exaggerate your celebration so you can actually feel it and benefit. A favorite quote of mine. Marshall Goldsmith said, "What got you here won't get you there." In other words, you're going to need to let go of being you and who you say you are. You weren't born as the you of today. You evolved into you. And so everything that got you the life you have today is a result of who you've been up to now. And if you don't have the life you want, then you understand that you need new skills, strategies, beliefs, identities, and whatever it takes to get where you want to be. We are all 100% responsible 100% of the time for the outcomes in our respective lives. And there is a price tag on everything that we want to be or have. It's time, effort, and energy, not just money. So if you hear yourself saying that something is too expensive, you aren't just talking about money. You're talking about the time, effort, and energy that something will cost you in exchange for the outcome. And if you say it's too expensive and you won't pay the price, then you won't get that outcome. You can pick another outcome that's less expensive. However, you may not want that outcome. And so you're left with the decision of investing in yourself for what something actually costs so you can gain the value you're seeking for yourself, both personally and professionally. Over the years, I've trained myself to think about the return on an investment, not just the investment itself. And in the case of AIAFS program, the price tag of time, effort, and energy is as little as 15 to 20 minutes a day. Are you worth 15 to 20 minutes a day every day until you've achieved your outcomes? Looking at this cost a different way, how many places in your life are you wasting that 15 to 20 minutes a day, every day, and not achieving your outcomes? I won't call out the list of ways because we all know it only too well. Whether you're learning from my podcast episodes, free resources, or working with me directly, I want you to live your best life if that's what you want for yourself. I can't get it for you or live it for you. However, I can guide you to it if you'll allow me to do so. Jim Rohn said, for things to change, you've got to change. He also said that he can't do our push-ups for us, that we have to do them ourselves to benefit. So here's the path today. Make it a priority to get your copy of 13 Signs Weak Executive Functioning is Holding You Back. Next, get on the wait list for AIAFS program to learn how you can build your executive function skills and strategies the Dr. B way. Enrollment is going to be opening up sooner than you think, so get prepared now so you know if this is your time and your opportunity knocking. I hope it is, and that we will be working together soon. And if you want a place to hang out with like-minded listeners to my show, you can ask to join the Living Beyond ADHD Facebook group. Be sure that you're mindful when you're asking, which means that you answer the few questions we ask so that you can be approved into the group. Otherwise, it won't happen. And once you're a member of the group, be sure to visit often and engage with us. Joining and never visiting doesn't help you at all. This is about you following through. The Facebook group isn't a training group, although there are great posts to learn from and a supportive community to surround yourself with, and that's worth a lot. As a member of the Living Beyond ADHD Facebook group, you will hear about training opportunities sooner unless you're also on the AIAFS waitlist. However, you do have to open and read your emails in order to know about the new opportunities that I'm offering you. I promise that we won't flood your inbox with tons of emails. However, when we do send them, they have important information in them for you, so be sure you read them if you're seeking transformation. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share this podcast with others. And I would also be grateful if you'd rate the show and write a positive or inspiring review on iTunes so I know that I'm meeting your needs. That helps the ratings, and more people like you will get to know about the show and be helped. That's you making a difference in others' lives, and that means a lot to me. Are you ready to stop your needless suffering? Have you had enough? Be sure to check out the show notes for the links and the opportunities available to you. There are real solutions to the challenges that you're experiencing. Time is our most precious asset, and none of us have time to waste on solutions that don't work. I would love to help you realize a new freedom. That is, if that's of interest to you. Thanks for listening. Until the next time, bye for now.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you're eager to make positive changes in your life and stop overwhelm and confusion from derailing you, head over to drbarbaracohen.com and see how Dr. B can help you today. Whether you love learning in an online group environment with personalized coaching or prefer the pace of guided self-study, Dr. B offers the skills, strategies, and individual support you need. Get started on your journey today by visiting the website at drbarbaracohen.com.